Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Better Life with Dr. Pinkston. I'm Dr. Marianne Pinkston. As always, we're going to bring you some topics that are the latest and greatest that we are thinking about and talking about in the medical world. And as always, week 3, I have Ray Solano in with me from PD Labs up in Cedar Park, Texas, close to Austin, Texas, compounding pharmacy that works nationally. So keep in mind if you need your compounding products that PD Labs and Ray are taking care of people up there. Good morning, Ray. Welcome in.
Well, good morning to you too.
Hi, it's always so good to see you. We've been doing this a long time, almost 2 years now, or over a year and a half.
That's right. And, we use this important time to let the people know the events, the things that you're doing, the things that we're doing,
right?
To really so they can make good choices in their healthcare.
Absolutely. And I think we're going to push a hot button this morning because there is a lot going on in the political world, the legal world, with compounding pharmacies. I think lately with all the semaglutide and the tirzepatide products out, people trying to lose weight, people trying to get their hands on products away from the pharmaceutical industry off-label. It's been stirring the pot a little bit. So I think we're going to war, and also the hormone front too. What is your thoughts?
Well, it's constantly a battle between the federal oversights and the states. This is something that's been going on forever. And I don't think a war is much that it's so important for everyone to be involved and be active in their government. I just came back from Washington, D.C. as part of our political action group, a national organization that lets our voices and your voices be heard on an annual basis. Could you imagine over 500 talented, educated, and influential pharmacists and also owners descending on Capitol Hill? We touched on it. We actually visited every single member of Congress's office in 2 days.
Wow.
And I spent close to an hour with their legislative staff because they're the ones that run the government. And we always come back with impressed. Unfortunately, we have no knowledge of actually what's going on by just looking at the media. Right. It doesn't really educate us at all. But guess what? You can walk into a Senate office building or a House of Representative office building. You can go through security just like you would at the airport. You can walk into any one of their offices and say hello.
And that easy.
Exactly. Wow. And they're very respectful. And as long as you're respectful, it is absolutely amazing that they're willing to listen.
That's
what we did. And the tide is turning because guess what? They're willing to listen more than we ever have seen before. So you go to Washington with a jaded view, and you come back going,
it's not as bad as I thought. Wow, that's pretty amazing because you're right. I mean, in my mind, listen to how my perspective, kind of starting the show that we're going to war because it feels like that out here. You do. We are very influenced by the media.
Right.
And I think that the spin is to create that adversity. And I think it's maybe, primarily media driven. And, where does this underground come from? Why the distancing? Why the need to create that adversarial relationship? Because I picture getting into the Capitol, a bunch of guys with, horned helmets, raiding the Capitol. And that's what you imagine trying to get to.
It's back to normal. I've been going up to Capitol Hill for over 15 years. And guess what? It's back to normal. The fences are down, the trees are out, the grasses are green, and it's pretty again. So you just go, wow. And the people are smiling. There's no masks. It's post-COVID, and people are walking around. It's just normal.
Well,
and there's optimism, and there's the youth from the 20 to 30-year-old staffers are running the government. Just letting you know,
right.
And as long as they stay excited and respectful to all of the constituents. They're engaged. They're willing to listen and get to the details. So I was always impressed with their acumen and their attention to detail, and their ability to really engage in conversation, to understand, and not really judge, but be able to understand. So that's what we were very hopeful. And everybody we surveyed, we go, something's different this year.
That's great.
So maybe we do feel that they're listening. So you do have a voice, and that's what we do.
Right.
We're a nationally based pharmacy, and we had a number of people that be able to take away from their business, fly to Washington, D.C., spend time from their families and business, and contribute. And you know what? It makes a difference.
It does. It does. Well, thank you for doing that. You're always going somewhere, doing something wonderful. You make my head spin. I don't know how you do it, but being a voice for the compounding world is and the integrative world is so important. And I'm glad that we can speak highly of the millennials, I guess is the right generation, because I do think that is a breath of fresh air to help us change things for the better in our political world. I'm tired of the old man syndrome up there in the high seat, and it's time for a change. So I'm glad you bring a very fresh perspective this morning. So let's talk about the issues though, and what you were there speaking about. And I know the hormone replacement is something that's a hot topic for me, and something I'm very concerned about. Bioidentical hormone therapy is something that I have done for almost 10 years with patients now, with results that are beyond almost bizarre, how positive and how wonderful and how life-changing that this therapy can be. No guarantee ever, would never suggest that, but almost. And so this is something that we've had to fight and battle, because there's concern in the political eye. Explain that and give us a little more insight.
Well, the hormone replacement therapy has been a focus of a subject for over 3 years now, and unfortunately, the FDA got together a number of people, and they called this NASM report. There was a National Academy of Science Medicine as a report, and it was put together not on the same basis as a journal or a research peer-reviewed article, and it had many flaws in it. And unfortunately, maybe the influencers were trying to fix a problem, and there was a problem of overuse of certain hormones injections that were causing difficulty. So they tagged onto this flawed report as a cornerstone that required federal oversight into hormone replacement therapy. Well, through the Freedom of Information Act, we got a hold of the report and were able to break it down. And we got some very smart people look at it and go, wait a minute, this is not true. Its basis is totally flawed. It did not have pharmacists involved in the study, or physicians like yourself in those studies, or the patients that have been positive on this for over 60 to 70 years. Yeah. So we started to break that down and get the message out and open up the cover and say, look, this is not right. And guess what? We had some federal officials that looked at it and said, we're going to study this before we do anything and go through the right process. We're not going to do this in a vacuum. So we were encouraged with that. But It was really interesting when we actually showed this to members of the Senate, and is also in the House. They were as astonished as everyone else. So, guess what? Thanks for technology and information. You can get the word out pretty fast.
Sure can.
And so I think I come back to there's not going to be a knee-jerk reaction, which we thought was going to happen.
Right.
that a rulemaking was going to have our guidance, and unfortunately, we follow the rules, we follow what our regulators say, because that's part of our process.
Right.
But we feel that it's going to have the input for everybody before we make any major changes. So guess what? I think we've definitely, it's safe for this. However, we have to stay engaged and have to continue, and just don't just decide to throw the book on the shelf and forget about it.
Great. And that's very, very promising, because we have sweated it for a little while, for sure. And I know patients have too. When I explain this to patients, they're like, no, you can't take my hormones away from me. And so it's created a lot of fear, and unjustly so, which I'm glad to hear. Let me ask you something, because and tell me if my perspective is correct. What I explain to patients, many times when they think about compounding pharmacies, they think about, somebody working in their back room somewhere in like a meth lab down in their basement, or, some dark, terrible scenario. And I explained to them that, when I look at things like CVS or HEB and their pharmacies, their regulations are basically, are they keeping their refrigerator temperatures cold enough? Are they doing their pill counts right? Things like that. When you look at compounding pharmacies, you are over-regulated maybe in some aspects. I mean, the regulations are strenuous and deep and very expensive. So when I look at, getting things from compounding pharmacies, I'm almost absolutely certain that this is going to be an extremely safe and quality, product, especially coming from you guys. But is my perspective correct on that when I explain to patients?
Well, exactly. It is, somehow people think of lab and they have maybe a negative connotation for that. And also errors or people that have criminal activities, they somehow have been publicized as a poster child for what we do. However, it is, when you're dealing with people's lives and you have a dedication of professionals that are licensed as professionals, just like physicians and dentists and veterinarians, and that you have an obligation in training, and a lot of advanced training, a lot of advanced courses, to be able to take bulk pharmaceuticals just like a pharmaceutical company would, and be able to make dosage forms that are relevant to your prescription. It takes a tremendous amount of understanding of science. It takes a huge investment in equipment to be able to do this as well. I think it's probably anywhere, the average pharmacy has $300,000 to $500,000 in specialty equipment to be able to do this. So this is not something that is portrayed in any way, shape, or form the way it was done hundreds of years ago. So we comply, and unfortunately, we're licensed in 48 states, so we have 48 state licenses and rules to abide by. And guess what? It's not an easy job. But it is definitely, we don't take it lightly.
No, you make it look easy. So we're glad you do it. So what do you think, coming away from Washington, what do you think is kind of set forth for us now? What's our responsibility moving forward?
It's important to keep up with what is going on in a legislative basis. Compounding.com, our website, pdlabsrx.com. We'll have updates on our website. If there's a call to action or be able to get voices heard, we want to make sure that they are connected. This is an election year coming up. And the people, we heard over and over again, what are some of the issues that affect you? They really want to hear from you. What is something that impacts you? Costs is something that they asked a lot of questions on. They're very, very sensitive to drug cost and medicines becoming more expensive, and access and freedom of choices. They're very sensitive to that as well. So, at the end of the day, everybody's really on the same page for what is important.
Right.
So that was encouraging. But, the amount of people that actually engage in being active and connecting and understanding who your representatives are is very few.
Yeah.
There's probably less than 10%.
You're right.
It's easy to read a newspaper or watch a TV but it's not. Sometimes it's important to let people know you're around. Could you imagine if you had 1 million people show up in Washington and do exactly what we did? The system couldn't handle it.
Right.
But it's there's a proper way of doing it.
Right.
There is a protocol and being respectful, and there's certain rules. But guess what? If everybody took pilgrimage there, you'd be surprised how.
Exactly. And so, I'm sitting here thinking while we're talking about, how much people really do not know, like, as you said, people do not know how to access who their representatives are, what access they might have and how to attain that. And so as we record this during the week and then it airs on Sunday. So I'll put together a nice set of links for people to go look up their representatives if there's something that they're really, concerned about. I know the insurance industry is a big one for me. I work a lot with some local leaders on some insurance issues for patients. Legal wise, but I'll put together something like that and see if we can get people to understand that they do have accessibility. They can write a letter, they can type in a letter and send it. It does get read, and oftentimes it gets answered by the representatives themselves, not just an office member. I've noticed that as patients have told me they've used that. So, you mentioned about how we can look you up and locate you. I know patients, if they have questions about these things, can contact the pharmacy. How do they get in touch with you as we go into the break here?
That's call us at 888-909-0110. That's 888-909-0110, toll-free number. You can call us at any time. Usually our hours are from 8 to 6. And our website, pdlabsrx.com, has got a tremendous amount of information, education pieces to really make choices in your healthcare. And check our online store for supplements and nutritionals, unique formulations that nobody else has.
Right.
Don't require a prescription, but maybe a little bit of advice from our pharmacist.
Absolutely. People who still answer their phone. I love it. So yes, and all of that information is on my website. So you can go to drpbetterlife.com. You can find all of our previous shows, which have been once a month for over a year and a half now. Lots of great topics and things about those supplements, about those prescriptions. So please, drpbetterlife.com. We're going to take a short break, come back on the other side and tie this one up. Thank you, Ray.
Hi, this is Ray Solano with your Healthy Choices Minute, sponsored by Prescription Dispensing Labs. New research has concluded that implementing dietary changes could prevent gut inflammatory processes involved in some chronic diseases. Modulation of your gut microbes through diets enriched with vegetables, legumes, grains, nuts, and a higher intake of plant over animal foods has a potential to prevent intestinal inflammatory conditions at the core of many chronic diseases. In short, the foods we eat and our dietary patterns have a major influence on our immune system that can cause many conditions we are suffering from today. Solution: try our OptiMeal shake. Our team has developed the best tasting, healthiest shake you've ever experienced to control blood sugar and to improve your gut. Start your day today with a healthy choice. Call us today at 888-909-0110 for a free sample of the OptiMeal shake. 888-909-0110. Remember, you have a choice in healthcare.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back. This is Dr. Marianne Pinkston with The Better Life with Dr. Pinkston. We are going to pick up our discussion here. We were talking about all of the legislation, the FDA, and, reaching out to your congressmen and the representatives that are up in Washington about compounding pharmacies and prescriptions and our freedom to make some of our choices in healthcare as we try to get away from the contemporary medicine, the pharmaceutical industry. I know it's very important to people. Choices, personal healthcare, is very important to people. I know the hot topic lately has been the weight loss, injections and all. I know we've got so many different choices and things that we can do in the weight loss area, not just that. But you and I have been developing some things lately. You've been developing some things lately. What do you have in store?
Well, what we realized, we have a number of drugs, semaglutide, tirzepatide, and all these unique pharmaceuticals that work on the GLP receptors, that insulin receptors, that make dramatic changes in people's lives.
Right.
However, it sometimes can be a temporary fix because you have to fix the problem, because the weight does seem to come back if people don't make lifestyle changes. And so it's really important for people to look at the whole body and look how you can use food and you can use choices in your healthcare to fix your body's metabolic irregularities without sometimes pharmaceuticals that may be just a starting point. So we developed a unique combination with your help, using a berberine with cinnamon and MCT oil and in a liposomal capsule. Okay?
Yep.
And a combination of these natural substances, we always find when we use natural ingredients, the body likes them and we don't have the rebound effect, and the body looks at it as food, and it works as a symphony for all the hormones as well. And we find that we're fixing the inflammatory cascade that is causing many of these weight gain in patients. And we're also correcting some of the insulin resistance.
Yes.
So we think this combination could be a second phase of after getting started on these pharmaceuticals.
Yes.
And it's something that you could take on a long-term basis that is tremendously more affordable than $1,000 a month. And, the products are on shortage now.
Yeah.
And many pharmacies are making these pharmaceuticals because we can. And when items are in shortage, thank God we can do that. But unfortunately, there's some laws and patents and infringements that cause many, many hardships that are access to medication. So just staying out of that legal crisis, this could be an answer for everybody. So it has anti-inflammatory effects for joints. Could you imagine that?
Yeah.
So stay tuned and I think contact your office, because we put you in the lead on this as well. Be able to make sure that this application or this choice of medications would be good for patients. It doesn't have to be prescription, but we want to make it a prescription basis so we can track the data.
Absolutely. Right.
What their dosages are. But it's a berberine, cinnamon, in a MCT oil capsule. Okay. So it's a special formula, and the results so far have been so good, we decided to just go ahead and pre-launch it. How's that?
Absolutely. I think you just did. That's great. And so, yes, people do have access to that. And I agree with the changes lately, with pharmaceuticals. There's news. I sent you something yesterday, with the industry coming after the injections, and they are super expensive. The tirzepatide so far has been about $550 a month for people, for patients to start that program. And at some point, people do need to come off of that and transition out. I don't think that just a startup and just do a couple months and stop is very helpful. I do a lot of one-on-one coaching with people because of the weight loss that I have done and the experience that I have with it, to try to talk to patients on a long-term basis. How can we do this not just to get some off and then turn around and gain it back? How can we correct those underlying metabolic issues, turn that around for lifelong weight loss? And Berberine has been one of my favorites for years. I'm so glad you are doing this. It makes it very, very accessible for patients in a form that actually works. There's many types out there. You can a dime a dozen.
Exactly. If I can just interrupt you, when you were able to, as a specialty pharmacist, if you get the dosing and the absorption on a cellular basis is so critical.
Right.
Berberine is a very insoluble product. And to be able to get cellular levels is such a difference in the therapeutic effects. So you can take berberine all the time, but unfortunately only 0.1% actually gets absorbed.
Absolutely.
But if you increase that level threefold, guess what? You have a completely different effect.
Right.
So that's what we've done, much like low-dose naltrexone. When we find the drugs, when we're able to do different dosage forms, we get a whole different product.
Absolutely.
So that's why we're really exciting about this.
And berberine has more studies than metformin, by the way. And it's not just on blood sugar and diabetes or insulin resistance, but also on cholesterol and heart disease prevention and on joint pain and autoimmunity and things like just so many, way more than metformin and much safer and more tolerated. So we are coming up on the end of the 30 minutes. So tell me again, where can we find you?
Yes, give us a call at 888-909-0110. That's 888-909-0110. And give us our website a call or check out our website, pdlabsrx.com. That's pdlabsrx.com.
Yeah. And you can find all of that when you look me up at drpbetterlife.com. Not only that, but you can find all of our previous shows and all of their information, but all of my information, a blog, and some previous shows that I've done with other great people from the integrative industry. And Ray, as always, I appreciate you. It's always great to see you. Brought some great information to us today. Good show. Thank you so much. And if people want to look us up, drpbetterlife.com, pdlabsrx.com. And we'll see you in a couple weeks.